Hey guys, it's Matt. We have a new word for this video and all videos going forward. If I say insert the LT here, that's insert the laugh track. I can't really put a laugh track because I would risk another big warning violation on this beautiful platform. Remember, it was related to, say, you could say, hate the leech. Everybody hates leeches, right? Hate the leech. That's the violation that will never go away on my account. So I'm going to say insert the LT and just pick whatever one that you like best, insert it in your mind, whether you might like the laugh track from I Love Lucy or Seinfeld or Cheers, insert the LT. And we can practice right now the insertion of our own imaginary LTs when appropriate. This first headline, amongst the many things we're going to go over today that came from a variety of different people in emails, this is from Gary. 5 things to know about Sri Lanka's crisis. 5 things to know about Sri Lanka's crisis. If you're driving, just listening, Jupiter Jones cleaning toilets, I'll walk you through these headlines. And if there's an image, I'll describe it. I don't think you'll need to see anything here. I don't think there's going to be any video. Now, this comes to us from the United States Institute of Peace. Insert LT. If I laugh, I guess, am I allowed to laugh? If I laugh, then you wouldn't need to insert your imaginary track. This comes to us from, there's a logo if you're Jupiter Jones. It's a dove. The United States Institute of Peace. Anybody? How many billions of dollars of taxpayer money went into that? Friday, July 15th, 2022. That's yesterday to you and me. Sri Lanka's collapse should be a wake-up call to other countries, highlighting the perils of sovereign debt in an era of geopolitical competition. Following months of escalating protests and the May resignation of his brother Prime Minister, Sri Lankan President, fled the country on July 13th. He's gone, man. Probably went to to watch that Saudi golf tournament that pulled away Phil Mickelson for $200 million. Sri Lanka's economy has hit rock bottom as it defaulted on international loans and is facing rampant fuel and food shortages, and the government imposed a state of emergency. Now, what Gary was pointing out to me is the big cricket matches are still going on. This system will never have its circuses interrupted. You remember the scene from Gladiator with Russell Crowe, the thumbs up, the thumbs down from that little Joaquin Phoenix or whatever? That will always go on. They need that. I mean, the whole world could look like scenes from the movie The Road, and they'll still run their bread and their circuses and their gladiatorial games and their NFL. This is the final image from the article. Skip down to number 2. Sri Lankans have taken to the street in record numbers to protest economic hardships. Sri Lankans taken to the street. They all decided on one street. Who wrote this? Isn't it? What did the Doobie Brothers say? Taking it to the streets. Taking it to. Can I even sing that? Is that a copyright violation? The incredible work of the Doobie Brothers is that Michael McDonald, 1970 something, taking it to the streets. Here they took it to one street. I don't know how they. Sri Lanka is a crowded country, man. They're not all going to fit on one street, but they took to it in record numbers to protest economic hardships. So just go out and protest, and the economic hardships are just going to go away if you paint your signs up big enough. Guys, I know real people are hurting here. Is it appropriate to poke fun at this at all, considering hundreds of thousands of people are going to go to bed tonight hungry, millions upon millions don't know what they're going to do in terms of how to put food on the table to make a living, and unfortunately, we have to make fun of it because comedy and laughter and seeing the idiocracy of the way this world is run is a weapon. It's basically the only weapon we have. We're going to just get our pickup truck armies together and go change things. It's not to make fun of these people themselves. I never would do that. I feel for these people. These people are, I don't like the word, but to a degree, it's the correct definition. They have been subject to the same group of assholes that we're all subject to, okay? And if you're a sovereign citizen and all this stuff, you're removing yourself from certain statuses, stati, whatever the damn word is. But we have all been raised in this system created by assholes, okay? It's just the third world has been messed with and screwed with and played with and fucked with more than the West, being lucky enough to being born in what's called the West. because I guess they don't want scenes from the road happening right outside the window from where they live. Who knows why? But the people over time are partially to blame. I'd say 20% on them, 80% on the group of assholes that, quote, run the world. How else should I put it? I don't want to praise these assholes, but it is what it is. I don't personally pull the buttons and levers for the world economies and manage Federal Reserve banks. They do. So it's 80-20, though. These third world countries have put up with asshole dictators and nasty Idi Amin types. And I'm lumping them all together, of course. Most of the continent of Africa, Sri Lanka, the third world throughout Latin America and parts of Asia and Cambodia and Laos. And the third world's a big place. And these people have put up with Imelda Marcos type assholes. But overall, it's not their fault. The entire world economic system that is based on and from debt is in and of itself, for every what they call human being, a slave system. And this will play out just like all the others will play out. It'll be awful for weeks or months, and for years, of course, it will be awful. But some quasi-government jerk-off body, the World Bank or World Economic Council or whatever their stupid names are, Transorzee Union Fund, will come in and offer a package. And when they offer a package, they demand something in return, like energy blood looshing or whatever. Whenever they come in for a restructuring, who knows what they get in return. But it's almost like these collapses are set up for them to come in and get something in return. These collapses aren't normal or organic, or they just happen because of bad management locally. The powers of the World Bank or the IMF, I guess that was the vampiric name I was looking for, they could have stopped this. They knew it was coming. They could have stopped this months ago, and they can print up $1 trillion a second on their Fed supercomputers. Is it run well locally in Sri Lanka? No. Is it run well locally in Venezuela by a bunch of assholes and cronyism and skimming money and screwing people? No. But they could have been fixed, and it could have been avoided. I mean, the World Whopper supercomputer tied into the central banks, of course they saw this coming. They probably caused the exact moment when it would get bad. Then they'll come in with their packages, and who knows what they'll take in return. It's the same script every single time. Our next story today comes from John. Thank you, John. If you're Jupiter Jones cleaning, you certainly don't need to see this horrendous picture that have been copied and pasted so many times you can't even make it out, from the JWST. That's the James Webb Space Telescope, to you and me. And for those that struggle with what do I mean by this Jupiter Jones stuff, it's the movie Jupiter Ascending, which is an absolutely horrible movie with 4 or 5 good scenes. The bureaucracy scene is phenomenal in Jupiter Ascending. And it is a truth drop movie, not about space aliens. It's all done in a roundabout fashion. It's about bloodline assholes controlling everything in the movie. And that relates to what's going on here. So let me just get back to this. What you're looking at basically looks like a wallpaper from a bar in Los Angeles that's off La Brea that has had 40 billion packs of cigarettes smoked pushed into it over the. I mean, this is from the James, and I understand this is not the 1080i beautiful CGI Photoshop that comes from the JWST. That's the James Webb Space Telescope, to you and me. This has been copied and pasted so many times it looks like hell. But the point is, John took the original image from the NASA website and he put it through some sort of filter available online that breaks down the software used on the image, the pixels, every bit of information that can be collected from the image is spit back. And he said, Matt, do it yourself, if you don't believe me. I did it myself, and I actually got more information than what John is providing. But here it comes. At the bottom, if you're cleaning toilets, stop for a second. Stop that brushing. Writer name, Adobe Photoshop. Reader name, Adobe Photoshop 2022. When I did it, I got the exact version of Photoshop. It said Adobe Photoshop. I think it said 23 point something. And I looked up, is that the most recent version of Photoshop? And it is. So you see all of these statistics on the image, and right on the image, it says Photoshop. Now, guys, as John explained to me, there's a million ways the normies explain this away. And Matt, the normie would say, of course, it's just funny, okay? And it is Photoshop. But the normie, you could never use this to prove anything to my Tony or your neighbor. They would say, you think the images that come from the JWST are perfectly ready to go just to go onto a website. What comes from that highly sophisticated telescope up in space, you don't think anything has to be done. They just just Polaroid it out and put it on your website. Of course, and the images have to be combined, Matt. It's only taking a section of space at a time, and you have to combine it. But you would think, I don't know, doesn't NASA have anything more sophisticated than Photoshop? And even the moon people and the people that have been ripping into NASA for 15 years are trying to call out to me from their bathtub, and I can hear you, where that guy that put the damn images of the Earth together, he said, it's Photoshop because it has to be. No, it doesn't. If you just send your spacecraft up there far enough away and let it fly around with its laser blasters and you just turn around and take a picture, it doesn't have to be. It has to be because there ain't no tuna can up there. And it is Photoshopped, and it's always Goldilocks. Again, this is funny to us. It's revealing to us. Oh, there it is at the bottom. Look, software, Adobe Photoshop 23.4 for Windows. That's what I got back. But the normie, you could never use this to try to enlighten the normie, of course. The next thing we'll look at is this short email from Michael. Michael has sent me a lot of interesting emails over the years. He tells me he has insight from a place that is not here. We'll just leave it at that. I agree with 75% of Michael, but I want to point out we do disagree on certain things, and this was just interesting. It doesn't mean all these are my opinions, but it's worth reading. He says, so they gave you access to the tree of knowledge via Lucifer, the fallen angel, the bearer of light. Light is knowledge, via the internet. They gave you access to the tree of knowledge through Lucifer, he's saying, via the internet. Their forbidden tree of knowledge. They even put a bite out of the apple as symbolism. The tree of knowledge. They gave it to us for 20 years unrestricted. 1992 to about 2022. The Wild West, no rules. Well, no rules probably ended in 2016, but nevertheless, no regulations, at least up to a point when the censorship came in big time. Now he's saying you will eventually need a digital ID to access it, to access the internet or this tree of knowledge. Those who use the tree of knowledge wisely, like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, the greatest truth drop of all time, got the key at the end of the rainbow on how to exit this Loosh Farm prison planet once and for all. Just say no when you get to the other side. Lessons on how to avoid the trickery on the other side were given in the movie. Just like Dorothy, there's no place like home, you say. Say no to any archons on the other side, which Michael's saying is this, that are presenting themselves as your favorite aunt. Well, he might be saying on the other side at the moment of death, I'm not sure. But just either way, just say no to whatever archons present themselves as your favorite aunt or your dog or your family or the characters in The Wizard of Oz that were the characters from the original farm that was presented in black and white. They are inside your mind, so they know what matters to you. So you say, no, I want to be with my creator. There's no place like home. Some people would say, I want to be with Source or whatever your religious belief is. And you will escape this prison planet where they feed off your loosh. Those who spent their time in the tree of knowledge taking pictures of cleavage for Instagram will be recycled back here for another infinite amount of lives until another opportunity is made to access the tree of knowledge in whatever form it may take or appear. Rereading for just a second, and Michael does say he has access to certain information, quote, from the other side. He's talking about, I think, the tricks at the moment of death that we've all heard about. Archons pop up and represent something. And, we've talked about that many times in the past. Whether that's real or not, see, doing the work here, and this is me saying this now, I'm not reading from Michael's email anymore. Doing the work here, I think, matters. What is all this for? You maybe there are tricks or whatever, but doing the work here matters. Will any trick be able to work on us and those that have done the type of work that we've done? compare us versus what Michael says here, somebody that just spent their lives trying to post to Instagram. Well, I'm not worried about whatever trick may happen, whether that's, you have to be careful too, because smart people have said if you expect a trick at death, that's exactly what you'll manifest on yourself. Either way, I have no worries because we've done the work here. So that work will carry through into the moment of death. It doesn't matter. Just know you're a winner, and carry that through the moment of death. I mean, what could be better than that? What's going to be around that corner? It's like somebody that takes a sports field. It's done the training and the weightlifting and the work. Who are we playing today? I don't care. We're going to go kick their ass. That's my take on it. Michael talked about potentially needing some digital ID to access the internet someday. I think we're a long way from that, but certainly we can see them moving toward that. Will I need the Luciferian mayonnaise under my skin to access it? It doesn't matter. It's possible they could try to go to that. Who knows how many decades in the future, or Matt, months, whatever it may be. But the yin, it doesn't matter for this reason. The internet, or the way the internet is presented, or the way the creeps use it, to me, it's the biggest yin-yang principle of all time. It's similar to the Darth Vader, Princess Leia scene in Star Wars 1 that I screwed up last time. I'll probably screw up this time. Lord Vader, the more you squeeze your greasy glove together, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. Something like that. And it's a give and take. See, even if they were able to, with this Whopper supercomputer that's a million times smarter than the lawnmower man and Lieutenant Barclay in Star Trek when he connected himself up to the main computer, even if they're able to remove all truth, I don't think they can, per the way the rules work here, or the yin-yang. I personally believe the yin-yang symbol is the greatest, most famous symbol of all time for a reason. So just, I don't know, let me give you some examples. I don't know if it's going to come out right, but let's say they're actually working with all their technological sophistication to remove all truth, so to hide people from their true spiritual nature. I think even if they're trying to do that, and contractually they might not be able to do that, but let's just say they're trying to cover up the way the reality works, which I think they understand the governing dynamics of it better, carrying forth ancient knowledge, I think better than we do, then even though they're going to cover up most of the truth, what is left will be a stronger or a clearer truth. It's like that thing I talked about I don't know what that thing's called, a few videos back. You get it at like the $5 store. It's just like a dumb little kid's thing. You squeeze the one end, you try to hold on, and it squirts up. It's like a balloon, but it's like you can't hold it. Like you squeeze it and it squeezes out the other end. What if they cover it up, then whatever remains will be a clearer truth, a stronger truth for those that care to find it. But I think they understand this. I almost think contractually, if they take such big bites of the shit sandwich, then they have to almost provide the truth to those of us that are interested in it, per like whatever contractual rules these creeps, these John Travolta creeps, may be subject to. Matt, why are you picking on John Travolta? I mean, he's just leave him alone. And you're right. It's just a lower level minion that just popped into my head. I'm doing this on the fly. I'm not going to re-record, but leave John alone, Matt. I mean, he's just trying to do Staying Alive Part 3 or whatever gig he can get now, some aerobicizing movie. And what happened with him and Kelly? Leave him alone, Matt. In terms of understanding the way the world really works, he can barely get a gumball out of a machine. He don't know what's going on at the George Soros level and above. He ain't collapsing countries trying to make Staying Alive 3. And you're right. The Britney Spears part of me that's talking to me, it just came out. I'm not going to re-record it. But those lower level minions that in terms of equating how the world really works can't even get a gumball out of a machine, we should not target. We should not target our anger or energy at anybody, because those George Soros creatures will probably say, "Thank you very much. Can I have another? And can I have a more loose sandwich? Please hate me." What was Ray Liotta at the end of Revolver? Fear me. Ray Liotta at the end of Revolver, which I have to take a look at again soon. Fear me. He needs that egregore entity needs to be feared. Fear me, so I can suck your loosh. That's George Soros, man. So sorry, John. if you're driving or can't see this, this is a video. I took a still image of this video that Scott sent me, and it is, I don't know what's Sweden, it says 1913, but the title of the YouTube video is Oldest Video Ever Recorded, 1874. So maybe this YouTube video includes the oldest, 1874, but this clip's 1913 Sweden. Nevertheless, a horse-drawn cart front and center that says Corona. Corona. I don't know, downtown Stockholm. Who knows where they are? But what Scott said to me in the email was, do I have the record? Is this break the record for potentially the oldest retrocausality ever? Or is there like a cave painting somewhere where the Corona beer bottle from 10,000 BC, the bad movie? And he didn't say retrocausality either, to be fair. He didn't say that. He just said basically, does this break the record of the first oldest recording of what would be coming? And he didn't say it was predictive either. Obviously, Corona is a relatively popular term that has a long lineage related to crown and the sun. So, guys, would I put all my chips that this is a retrocausality? No, but of course I wouldn't put all my chips, but I think there's a good chance it is. I'm a big believer in retrocausalities at this point. I believe the senses fool us into believing time can only move in one direction. What we take in from the senses is an absolute joke, and there's so much going on outside of our perception. In terms of the retrocausalities that I've seen just related to the job application in September of the year 2001, by retrocausality, if anybody's new, meaning if we look back at something in the past, say from the 90s, that referenced what would be coming in 2001, what we're looking at now, it could even be a clip in a movie or a picture. Retrocausality means it didn't exist when we, quote, lived through that time period in the 90s. Because of the event itself, with so many billions of minds concentrating on the event and billions of generator beings, or how many of us there are here, but all the most powerful people, of which all is mind, consciousness comes first, consciousness first, reality second, the Big Bang, which implies reality or physical first, and consciousness came from that, is a joke, an absolute joke. Of course, it's just the opposite. Consciousness first, physical in the Big Bang after. I mean, it goes back to those Kabbalion principles, and it is just so obvious at this point. I mean, why scientists hold on to the fact that the Big Bang happened and then somehow like little microbes swam around a pool or something and then consciousness came from that. How they still hold on to that, I have no idea, because to those of us who can see, it is literally the dumbest notion to hold on to in the world. But nevertheless, if mind came first, then it's pretty easy to understand how retrocausalities could happen. And, and again, we'll never know what we're looking at here. But if to explain or understand the concept of retrocausality, if your great-grandfather was walking in this picture, that cart would have said something else. It would have said whatever, Joe's sticks. and then because of the event, and how many times have the word related to CV, and it was first called what the beer is called, it's been said tens of billions of times, potentially a month. And it's been focused on by real consciousness that in some way the focused reality now of real generator beings, I believe, and many believe, ripple back through time. So we don't know if this is a retrocausality. It might not be. But I just believe they exist. I think the evidence is overwhelming at this point. If you're Mandela affected, that is a retrocausality. If you're Mandela affected, you must believe in retrocausality, because that is exactly what it is. But for those that aren't, I guess they need a little bit more convincing. So thanks to Scott for sending this in. This is an email from Chance in Utah. I'm not showing you the text. It'll be too hard to read. And I'm just going to read parts of the email that ultimately relates to this Thomas Dolby. She blinded me with science. And this is, I'm sure we've covered this before in our community regarding the Thomas Dolby video, but it's just well said the way he put it here. And we should reflect on this every so often. because it's very important and very simple. It's just a reminder, and it's well said. So basically, I jumped on Facebook to check out the old globe versus the F Earth or flat splat Earth debate. And as usual, the F Earth folks have all these experiments and a lot of good legs to stand on in terms of their observations and measurements. But then the folks that battle with them in the Royal Rumble, the globe people have science on their side. And it says, he said, well, it's because science, he reminds us, is their new religion. And more so now than ever before regarding the CV stuff. That science, Matt, we know this, but no, you can't talk about this enough. Science is their religion. The traditional definition, or using science in your corner to make an argument or in your defense, in the old days had to do with the measurements and what actually was physically observed and things like that. But see, now you don't need any of that anymore, because science, in the names of authority and JPL and NASA and the government, they'll just tell you what is, say it comes from science, and then people don't care or will never even question it. So it's a leap of faith that those that are presenting the science are presenting it accurately. And once science becomes a religion, well, NASA said this. The people presenting that, they just take it now becomes a religion. It becomes a leap of faith that whatever NASA is saying is true, without they don't even care to look into it anymore. Well, where did NASA even come up with this? If you see what I'm saying, the leap, we know science is the religion, but because of the CV, the leap is now fully made. As long as it's said by a certain authority, then the religion of science must stand behind it, and it is not questioned. And then once people get to that point, they cannot be reasoned with, of course, any longer. Again, back to the email and the example here. Chance is going back with somebody about globe versus F Earth. And he says, well, what about shining these lasers across 20-mile lakes and you just see the reading on the other side? When on the other side of the lake, you should need a gigantic ladder to get up to be able to have the laser hit your board. You see what I'm saying with the 8-inch isn't a half and all that nonsense. So she says back to him, she says, I don't care if people shine these lasers across the lakes, because science tells me this. Or it would blind. See, she's blinded. Here's where the Tommy Dolby comes in. She's blinded. He blinded her with science. She doesn't care one bit about these people out there performing the experiments, because the authority in the name of science, or science in the name of authority, says something else. And you say to her, well, how have they proved that? She would say, it doesn't matter. It's just what they said. This is like a decree from God. Science is their God. What does he go on to say here? So it's just, the Thomas Dolby popped in. She blinded me with science. And that has been going on a long time, of course, but never more than now. It's beyond the point of no return. And he threw on the music video. He said there's the checkerboard floor and all the stuff we would expect to see. I haven't watched that video myself for a long time. And it's just, he's like, Matt, remind people that these people are now completely Thomas Dolby'd, blinded with science. Axon Jacksinations, headline, Axon Jacksinations are safe and effective. And then millions of people just parrot it out. My whole family just parrots it out. Parrot what they heard on the news. Masks work. And then a couple of my family members double and triple up. It's just an automatic response based on science, and it is extremely depressing for us when, now that this has become the religion, there is no getting through to people. Thank you for those bullet points, Chance. Continuing to talk about Thomas Dolby, in probably '96, I was in Balboa Park in San Diego, aerospace museum or whatever. In one of these museums, they have this thing, The Gate to the Mind's Eye, a computer animated odyssey, music by Thomas Dolby. And I still have this damn DVD downstairs. The animation looks dated to us now, but it was really cool at the time. Tons of truth drops. Some of the music is really interesting, really great. And I just remember talking about Thomas Dolby a few times over the years. Maybe I looked into him a little bit, but maybe it was mostly because about this thing he did, The Gate to the Mind's Eye. And maybe I need to do a whole video on this, but to me, this is not just some dummy artist. I mean, this guy is connected in some way. I don't know. You get that sense with some second tier artists that they just, John, was his name John, Jon, John Bryan? He has that creepy feel to me. That he knows something, and Thomas Dolby is the same way. So in other words, I'm sorry if this isn't coming out correctly. For Thomas Dolby to be the one to come out of the blue, to be the one with the gigantic predictive programming truth drop, She Blinded Me with Science, where a lousy song that probably would have never made the charts, it was pushed up artificially. Nobody liked that song. Nobody liked that song. It needed to be pushed up towards the top of the charts because of the truth that had to be laid down, or the predictive nature of what would be coming. And this Thomas Dolby, I don't think he is as simple as just a used Britney Spears puppet. I think he's connected with something in some way. And I don't even remember if there any research ever pointed me in that direction. At this point, it's more of just a feeling. And I will go back and find this old DVD downstairs, The Gate to the Mind's Eye, and watch it and pull out the truth drops, and maybe we'll do a free voice on it. A quick one here from Johnny, calling himself A Moan on a Phone. A Moan on a Phone. Cow and sheep burps to be taxed by New Zealand in world's first blah, blah. Now, look, guys, they keep bringing this around. We've heard, you guys have been here doing the work for years and years. Probably in 2016, 2017, we started getting articles about farts or flatulence from the cows and the beef and taxing that. I think the news story here is they're actually going to do it in New Zealand, and I don't know why they titled it this way. They're all emissions from cow and sheep, so they would be the farts. And do they have a guy out there measuring, Matt? Somebody walking behind the cows? I think they have an estimate of what the cow puts, the horrible carbon fart that the cows put in, and then they just, times it, and they just use math, and then I guess they're going to tax these farmers. Guys, why they keep bringing this around, first off, it seems like they're actually going to do it for the first time here, when they have been talking about the cow farts for a long time. I don't know. It might be I hate the word litmus test, to see how stupid people are, to see, or to always push the limits of what they'll put up with. If people will put up with carbon taxes literally on a fart that comes out of an animal, very natural thing, on a cow eating grass in a field, maybe they know they'll put up with anything. I mean, I think, Matt, doesn't the Whopper supercomputer already predict what the human population will put up with? Yeah, I think it does accurately, but I think sometimes they have to test it. I don't know any other reason for this. I mean, we already have 100 or 1,000 examples that if this were to occur, the world's kind of gone, and all those thresholds have been crossed. So what's the difference with this one? But put it this way, if people are accepting that literally farmers have to pay off a fart, I mean, I think then just it's as simple as saying Darth Vader then just sits back he has a lazy boy on the Death Star, and he pulls the handle and the feet pop up like when Mr. McDowell put the Queen in Coming to America. He's like, try the lazy boy. It's real comfortable. He just sits back, Darth Vader, and says, we've won. If people put up with this, we've won. It could be, maybe it's that simple. I got to show you this one more time. Insert LT here. Insert LT, your favorite track here. It was June. It was that month. Not that there's anything wrong with it. 609 subscribers on 80-some thousand. Like I said, you should just be able to throw a keyboard off a bridge somewhere and get more subscribers than that. But then the point of me showing you again is they rainbowed me up. Do you believe it? They rainbowed me up. You don't think, what is it, Skittles taste the rainbow? You don't think there's an innuendo there. Oh, I don't want to taste the rainbow, man. You don't think, maybe, Matt, yeah, maybe. I've had this for a while. This is from John or EJR, and it relates to having to interpret the number of the beast where it's not as simple as just saying it's 666 and that's the devil. It clearly says in the Bible you have to figure it out. It has to be calculated, and you have to be smart to do it. So I thought this was interesting. Whether you agree with what John's putting forth here or not, at least he's trying to calculate something. You don't just take the 666 and say that's the devil, because it clearly says that's the number of a man. Anyway, let's just see what he's saying here. And this is, to me, I've had similar thoughts that were very close to this. So 666 repeated is 2/3. Okay, 2 divided by 3 is the 666. 666 2/3. 333 is a third. So the whole Trinity, if you combine them, 2/3 and 1/3, is 9.99999. Okay, or 999. The true God has no name, is nowhere and everywhere at the same time. Taoist texts mention a man armed with his spirit, etc. In the 999, it's always missing the invisible one. To complete the one is missing in a 999, which I actually in a video I made, I reversed or flipped the 666 and made it a 999. I kind of came to the same place, or 99.9 as John's kind of going here, but let's just continue. The simplest expression of 6.66 would be body and soul without the spirit. And this is where it gets really interesting, because many people would still say the NPC has a soul. If whatever these, we don't know what everybody is, but we know there's different types of entities here. If you believe in the NPC, it has to have a soul to animate the body. The body doesn't just work, and this is the theme through all literature. Frankenstein's monster needed to be animated by the electricity. The wizard builds the golem, and then something or a spell has to animate it. So many people would say even the NPC has a soul, but it's a local animation. The spirit, to I believe some very smart people would say, is more of like the bridge out of here, extends way beyond the Earth snow globe. So what does this entire reality, the dark part of this reality system, try to do, and the minions try to do? Have you cut yourself off from that bridge, or that the spiritual connection out of here, to cut yourself off. It can't do it to you. You have to do it to yourself. So this is an interesting interpretation of the 666. And let's go back and quickly look at the Bible verse, because this is one of my biggest pet peeves of all time, how 80% of Christians would just say, oh, that's the devil. All you have to do is be able to read 2 sentences that it's not the devil. And it's not just the number. You have to do something with the number. You have to calculate. This is one of my biggest pet peeves of all time, how stupid people are. Revelation 13:18. Let's just look at the top 2 of many translations here. Matt, there's no need for this. 666 is the devil. No, it's not. Can't you read? New International Version, NIV. This calls for wisdom. Would it call for wisdom if it just gave you the number? Have you ever going to take a math test that says, this is a really hard one to solve for extra credit? The answer is 1,251,000. No, you have to figure it out. See, that's how that works. That's simple English. This calls for wisdom, dummies, not you. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. All right, first off, you have to be smart. Calls for wisdom. Identical. Calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight, you need insight too, and wisdom, both. You need insight too. And then on top of that, you got to calculate the number. Okay, you have to figure it out. Look at the next one, New Living Translation. Wisdom is needed. Let one with understanding solve. One, calculate, solve. Identical, solve. You have to do something. You can't just say, oh, it's 666. No, you have to do something. Like, at least John tried to flip it and try to combine the 1/3 and the 2/3. And what's that missing one out of the 999? whether you agree with him or not, he's doing what most dummies don't do. They just figure that's the number of, and it doesn't. And on top of that, which really drives me crazy, it doesn't even say anything about the devil. It says it's the number of a man, of like the guy down the cul-de-sac. Walk into any Catholic church down here. Some of them are very big, right down a couple miles away. 200 people inside. How many people are going to say the 666 is the number of the devil? 95%? 98%? How many of the priests would say it's the number of the devil? Probably 90%. Where'd all this come from? It is not in the Bible. This is what's in the Bible. It doesn't say anything about the devil. It says a beast. But it clearly says a man. So this is just, literally, Hollywood can make some films like The Omen or The Exorcist, and then that's it. That just overwrites the Holy Bible, and you have a billion Christians thinking it's the devil's number when there's just nothing in the Bible that says it's the devil's number. This is absolutely mind-boggling to me every time I return to this. Well, Matt, it says the beast. That's the devil according to movies. Oh, okay, that's a stretch. Doesn't say Satan. The Bible, whoever wrote the Bible knows how to write the word Lucifer. They know how to write the word Satan. They didn't have to leave it open to interpretation. All they're doing here is they're saying a man of a certain sense is the beast. It has nothing to do with the devil as is the way it's written here. What it's saying, if you want to take it literally, is it's 666, the number of a man, and man then is also directly, according to these lines, related to the beast. So, hey, my interpretation, I haven't studied this for weeks on end, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it after today. This does not affect my half-page understanding of myself. I really don't really care. But to me, what it's saying is potentially, like what John was putting together, if you're missing that one part is real spirit, then if you're missing spiritual connection and you just have a locally animated soul and body and ego, then it's saying to me, you're the beast. That is the beast. And its number is 666. Okay? But to understand the number, its number may be 666. That's more, you can easily say that's the number of an NPC. That's the number of the first Apple computer, not the number of the devil. It doesn't say anything about the devil. In terms of what's going on, that one missing piece, to avoid being labeled by the book of Revelation, the beast, you need spirit. You need that one part. And that then makes the whole experience here, WHOLE experience here, whole, which is written for a reason. I guess it's also presented as HOLE. In the weird, bizarro magic of English, we're talking about making something whole. And of course, the what is it, a homonym or whatever is HOLE. This English is a mess. It really is. Trying to get me to make its pacts and contracts, always trying to work against my ass. Be wary of English, and be wary of a bird like a robin. Of a robin out here, I can see one. Oh, be wary of a bird that spends more time on the ground than in the air. I don't trust those damn robins. This email is from Stephen, going to the second sentence. The negative emotions connect us to the physical illusion or our real world because we focus our attention and energy on it to manifest and enforce the illusion. He's saying negative emotions are having us or essential in somebody connecting to the physical illusion or what they call the real world. Okay? That has been said by a lot of smart people. Negative emotions and what they try to instill in us, the worry and the anxiety and the stress, enforce or support the illusion. All those little things that seem to make life less convenient, like your answering machine example you mentioned, I talked about where Comcast just gets worse. It just takes longer and longer to get to the message. Even I think most voicemails give that same speech before getting to the point where you hear the beep and can record the message. We all know what to do when we get it. That would have been eliminated if it wasn't out to create busyness and all that distracts. That same voicemail message, the party you have reached is not available. That would have been eliminated 25 years ago, but everybody just accepts this as normal. We continue. Matt, continue reading and stop it. Whereas the higher self seems only positive, Now that I think of it, it's like the yin and yang. We are or need both, at least here. The minions are the opposite of us. They want to connect with the physical world. It seems they want to build themselves up as much as possible materialistically, and we, or at least the few in this community, are working on ourselves spiritually. A real quick email I've had for a while from Robin. He said in the email, when I talked about this Apple TV Severance, I don't know, was it like 2 months ago? He said he had never seen it. Now, they work for the Lumen Corporation in Severance, top left, if you can see it, the break room, Lumon, Lumen. So Robin says, listen to your latest video on Severance. Hadn't seen it on Apple TV. First time I really heard of it. But I went to work that morning, and I'm saying this because a lot of people have these strange synchronicities regarding like the general video topic, or maybe not because I'm presenting it. How many real people are focusing on the topic? I think it's not just because of me; it's because of all of you as well, collectively. This happens all the time. So Robin says, I get to work that morning, start going through my emails, and I have a notification from LinkedIn from a woman who wants to connect. First thing, and she gets in. She works for Quantum Fiber, a Lumen technology company. Is anybody surprised? Not me. She works for Lumen Technologies, okay? And it's called Quantum Fiber, related to, my channel is called Quantum of Conscience. And the first thing he sees after, the day before he sees the video about Lumen, and this stuff happens to you guys all the time. I'm just using Robin's one example of all the stuff you share with me. What's that noise in the back? What's that? Put those spitballs down. There's a question. There's a question from the back of the Amish class. I can't see you. Stand up. Yeah, you stand up. Okay. Well, okay. Robin gives his examples of what happened, and all these people have these coincidences and synchronicities. Well, what does it mean? Okay, fine. He watched your stupid video. Be respectful. I'm the teacher here. He watched your video, teacher, sorry. And then this coincidence happened the next morning. It happens to a lot of you schmucks. What does it mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means this world isn't very real, or it's not real at all. It means, again, it reinforces this Kabbalion stuff. Consciousness comes first. Are you, person in the back, do you believe in the Big Bang? Yeah. You still believe in the Big Bang? Yeah. Well, you must be new here. Sit down and shut up. Consciousness comes first. That's why they're always leading the collective consciousness with a carrot. And then the emulsifiers they're putting in to the reality that's being laid down, they use the stress and the anxiety and the worry and the fear. So it comes out in the sick form that they want it to come out. That's why they're leading us over here. And then they lead us over here with a carrot. And then they get half of us to believe that science is the new religion, because consciousness comes first. And you have all these generator beings listening to videos or ideas like this, then the shit starts popping up into reality. Don't you understand? Do you honestly in the back believe that the Big Bang is real? Yeah. Well, you got a lot of work to do before you go clear fields. This coming up is from Sue, The Streets of San Francisco, probably from the late 70s, early 80s, episode 23, season 1. Oh no. Corona Hotel? But Sue, if it was just this by itself, sometimes this word comes up. Matt, it's not just this by itself. Just a few seconds later in the same scene, about 20 feet down to the right from the Corona Hotel, an available sign on the place of business, phone number 391. Oh no. 0911 391 0911, and it's got the 2 9-1s and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 before the. Oh no, is this Robert Malden? Is that his name? Just popped into my head. I don't know. You do American Express commercials, who cares? And I just decided to add this without Sue's permission. This is the scene between what I showed you first, the Corona Hotel, and the numbers. They're leading a purple wave, but to me, because it is the streets of San Francisco, it's men interlocking arms and walking with men. What does that have to do with? I don't know, but it's the streets of San Francisco, so not that there's anything wrong with it. I know it's a perp, but it's men with men. I don't know. Can't they lead him out with a rope or something around his neck some other way? Guys, if you have anything else to do, the video is essentially over unless you want to dive into this complete idiocracy with me. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's funny on its own, but honestly, a lot of people are like, Matt, I can't get that 10 minutes back, so I'm warning you right now. Maybe sample the first minute to see if this is for you. From Yahoo Life, this is news according to Yahoo, the In the Know section. Young woman calls out family over her, quote, ridiculous family dinner assignment. I'm 22 years old, she says. March 22nd, 2022, news from Yahoo Life. March 22nd, 2022, and she's 22 years old. Is there a 22 presentation being made? Yeah, and 322. Oh, that's the order of the... It's those Skull and Bones people just making fun again. Those jesters over at the Skull and Bones, which is called the Brotherhood of Death, the Order of the 322. That's probably involved too. Just those guys just have fun. So let's see what's going on here. A woman got into an argument with her family when they forced her to sit at the kids' table. She consulted Reddit's Am I the A something forum for advice. While at a family party at her aunt's house, she was shocked when she wasn't allowed into the family room. The aunt insisted that she sit at the kids' table in a separate room while everyone else enjoyed dinner in the family room. Matt's comment, those sons of bitches. Continuing. Last weekend, I was at the family party at my aunt's house to celebrate her son's birthday. She wrote, when it was time to eat, I got my plate and started heading downstairs where everyone was gathered since the kitchen is upstairs and the family room is down. My aunt rushes over and asks me, where am I going? I said, downstairs like everybody else. She told me I had to sit at the kids' table so I wouldn't spill anything or make a mess. She continues, quote, I didn't like this because I'm 22 years old and I know how not to make a mess. And also because the only people sitting at the table were my 3 little cousins who are 13, 10, and 6 years old. I told her again I didn't have to sit at the table, but she stood in front of me and blocked my way downstairs. So I just gave up and sat with my little cousins. Sons of bitches. This just goes on, guys, like it's some sort of news or something. This is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. Just a few more samples. I'm not going to read all this. When my aunt wasn't looking, the Reddit poster snuck into the family room. Somebody told my aunt that the cooler was out of water, so I went back into the kitchen to get more. She couldn't see me, so I decided to go downstairs anyway. What? Quote at the bottom, my aunt just huffed and went back upstairs and eventually sat down with her own plate of food. What the hell? What is going on here? Come on, Matt, it's easy to see what's going on here. There ain't no real people writing for Yahoo News. The bots that prepare the news for Yahoo, they scour the web. And one of them scours Reddit. And this one was glitching out or something. Or it was like Neo, before the loading programs. He didn't have all this bot. It was in beta mode or something. It just wasn't ready to go live. And it was scouring Reddit for what it looked like news, because it has to scour the other websites. And it just wasn't ready. It was a bot that didn't have all its loading programs. It thought this was real news that real people would be interested in. And it just grabbed some bullshit complaint from Reddit about that some girl maybe was really bitching about her family and then she couldn't sit at the table. But with all the 22s and the 322, probably wasn't a real story, of course. But the bot just, this is the same bot that produced the flash crash on Wall Street. It didn't know what it was doing. It's pretty simple, Matt.